Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling something that affects millions, and honestly, it's a tough one: the bullying epidemic. To actually dismantle it, we've got to look past the old cliches and really dig into the hard science and psychology. Because really, how do we actually stop bullying? It's the ultimate question, right? Parents, teachers, policymakers, we've all been struggling with this for decades. But to actually stop it in its tracks, we can't just react to what we see on the playground. Instead, we have to reverse engineer the whole thing. We absolutely must understand how it starts. We have to look at the root causes, the environments that breed this behavior, and the hidden psychological gears turning behind the scenes. So, here's our roadmap to give you a full 360-degree toolkit today. We're going to cover how a bully is made, teasing versus true bullying, fixing the school system, tattling, snitching, and reporting, and finally, martial arts as life skills. All right, part 1. How a bully is made from the womb to the teenage years. Now, what's fascinating here is that this completely shatters the whole kids just being kids myth. Based on conscious discipline research, we can literally see the exact road signs where intervention is desperately needed. Check this out. At 0 years old, things like prenatal stressors and difficult temperaments can make an infant really hard to soothe. Then, around 3 to 5 years, if there's a lack of self-regulation and social skills, it leads to exclusion. They get pushed away by peers, even teachers. Fast forward to 8 to 12 years, and a really sad thing happens. The bullies and the victims actually connect, because the mainstream peer group has totally rejected them both. The brain's caring system basically just shuts down. And by the teenage years, there's no way around it. The bully's brain has biochemically literally become addicted to the opioid-like pleasure rush of causing pain. Empathy goes totally offline. Which brings us to this absolutely profound realization. All bullies start out as victims. I mean, think about that. A child doesn't just wake up one random Tuesday and decide to be a menace. It's a journey, a long journey of painful experiences and really deep social rejection. Knowing this helps us look at the situation with, a bit more empathetic objectivity. So why do they lash out? Well, it's a defense mechanism known as identification with the aggressor. Basically, a person imitates the exact behavior of someone who once made them feel powerless, with the hope that they will never ever feel that helpless again. They mock, they tease, all to protect this incredibly fragile self-worth and get a quick hit of dopamine and a temporary illusion of control. It's really just transferring their own pain, not healing it. Moving on to section 2, teasing versus true bullying. We really need to know the enemy we're fighting here. We absolutely have to distinguish between these two things, right? Teasing is just normal, everyday peer aggression. Like, remember when former President Barack Obama talked about being teased for having big ears? That's teasing. Bullying, on the flip side, is a systematic abuse of power. It's targeted coercion that happens over and over. If we mix up normal peer conflict with actual bullying, our interventions are going to totally miss the mark, and we end up failing the kids who genuinely need our protection. Let's zoom out for section 3. Fixing the school system. Looking through the macro lens of spatial planning. 50%. That is a massive, shocking number. It represents the unprecedented drop in bullying that some schools saw during the pandemic. And here's the kicker. It wasn't just because kids were sitting at home on their computers. This huge drop happened when kids were actually back inside the school buildings. So why the dramatic drop? It boils down to an incredible increase in adult supervision and way better spatial planning. You see, to enforce social distancing, teachers were out in the hallways actively monitoring class transitions. They completely eliminated those unmonitored, scary spaces like empty stairwells. Bullying absolutely thrives in spaces where adults aren't looking. So literally just getting teachers out of their classrooms and into the halls fundamentally changes the entire school culture and snuffs out the bully's opportunity. Okay, section 4. Tattling, snitching, and reporting. This is all about empowering the peer group matrix. If we actually want to empower kids to step in, we have to tackle the massive stigma of being called a snitch. This matrix breaks it down so perfectly. Tattling, that's just seeking attention over minor harmless annoyances. Snitching is about seeking revenge or deflecting blame. Think of the kid who secretly hoards way too much Halloween candy and then tells on his friends for doing the exact same thing just to look like an angel to the adults. That is snitching. But reporting, that's totally different. Reporting is motivated by reducing harm. It's actively seeking an adult's help for a physical threat or a huge power imbalance. So, we need to explicitly teach kids exactly when to step up. They should report when someone is going to get physically hurt, when someone's feelings are constantly being crushed, when there's a really clear power imbalance, or if a bully is acting in a way that obviously needs an adult's intervention. Honestly, reporting is a deep act of empathy. You're trying to create fairness and reduce harm for everyone involved. And yes, that includes the bully, who is clearly hurting and needs some serious guidance. And that brings us to Section 5, Martial Arts as Life Skills. Let's look at some practical prevention and parental strategies. Think for a second about how we view swimming. As parents, we see it as a totally non-negotiable, life-saving water safety skill, right? You don't teach a kid to swim just so they can win a race, you teach them so they don't drown. Well, martial arts, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, should be viewed in the exact same way. It is a lifelong tool for physical and social safety. It's this essential, boundary-setting life skill that gives kids the rock-solid core confidence they need to safely navigate the world. And building that martial arts foundation feeds straight into 3 really actionable steps to avoid being a victim. Number 1, exude inner confidence. Stand tall, make eye contact. Bullies always look for perceived weakness. Number 2, pick friends wisely. Bullies love to target loners, so having a supportive group of friends is a huge defensive force. And number 3, stand up for yourself. Look them right in the eye, clearly say stop, and walk away. When you take these psychological tactics and pair them with the physical confidence you get from martial arts, you literally drastically shrink a child's target profile. Bullies specifically prey on isolated kids who appear to lack confidence. They want an easy mark. The core defenses against this are actually incredibly straightforward. Walk with loyal friends, stand up tall, look the bully directly in the eye, project inner confidence, and firmly say stop. Because the bully is just looking for an easy target, projecting strength immediately disrupts their psychological loop. Now, creating a verbal boundary is essential, for sure, but knowing how to physically protect that boundary is just as important. Jiu-Jitsu uniquely empowers children with the courage to set a boundary, and more importantly, it teaches them how to responsibly defend themselves if they physically have absolutely no other choice. And crucially, it teaches them to do so without inflicting unnecessary harm on the bully. It builds this unshakable inner confidence that bullies actively avoid. And parents, this is where you get to step up as a hero coach. When your child faces bullying, the first thing you'll have to do is breathe and stay calm, because your emotional regulation dictates theirs. Second, practice boundary setting, right there at home. And third, role-play the exact script for reporting using clear I statements. Do this so they know exactly what to do when the adrenaline hits them in the real world. So, we've covered the origins, the psychology, the systemic flaws, and the tactical defenses. The anatomy of bullying is undeniably complex, but you know what? It is deeply solvable. The true power lies in refusing to mirror cruelty, insisting on strong physical and emotional boundaries, and recognizing the profound pain behind the behavior. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Will you choose empathy and firm boundaries to break the generational inheritance of pain? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.